Welcome to A Scrap Life, a podcast solely focused on the hustlers, grinders, operators, and business owners who live and breathe the scrap metal industry every day. We are the original recyclers. No suits required, just guts and hard work. Here is your host, Brett Eckhart.
All right, I'm back with one of the good guys in our industry, a guy I look up to a lot, and a guy that I feel like has probably a lot in common with myself, in that I don't think he ever takes a breath and comes up for air. He's always hustling, always trying, always pushing to do the next thing. I got Jim Keefe with I'm recycling today, GIE Media, right? I mean, I think whatever is the time, whether it's
whatever brand we're talking about,
whatever brand we're talking about. But man, it's about that time. We're getting everybody getting fired up for the Scrap Expo round 2, and I couldn't think of a better guy to come on, tell us about it, and let's talk about what's going to happen this year. Thanks for coming on, Jim.
Hey, thanks for having me again, Brett. It's great to be back with you. Appreciate the opportunity a lot. We're really excited about Scrap Expo this year. Of course, you and I were just talking. We're just coming off off of producing our first battery and critical metals recycling conference down in Atlanta, Georgia, and that was a huge success. And
that's awesome.
So we were really honored to be able to host that kind of an event for the industry, because batteries are such a challenge for the industry today, but on the other hand, such an opportunity. And so it was a great event. But Scrap Expo, man, it's really shaping up to be a hell of an event this year. Last year, of course, we talked, it was our launch year, but we had about 900 people there.
Yeah.
What's crazy is last year we had outdoor in the live demo area 11 different exhibitors, and they had about 20 pieces of equipment that people could jump in and operate, everything from wire strippers to car depollution to Genesis shears and Centerbogan material handlers, so a lot of different stuff. This year we've got 16 outdoor exhibitors and a couple more people looking at it, way over twice as much space. And as we're counting today, and it's early because people are still finalizing things, we've got over 30 pieces of equipment that are going to be on the show floor: balers, loggers, shears, mobile shears. Harris is going to have their new baler, auto logger and baler there. Sierra is going to have one of their material handlers there, as well as a logger. Caterpillar is going to be there, Centerbogan, so many more. We've got Vortex.
Real quick, like you're talking 16 to 30, right? Like you're doubling, almost double. I mean, what's driving? What do you think was so successful from last year's show? I mean, it's tough to throw a show. It's tough to put one on year number 1 and feel like you're making some traction and having some success. And because it's a lot of work. I mean, you have to kind of look out on the time horizon and say, okay, we're gonna do this for a couple of years to gain the traction. But just on a simple metric, on a piece of equipment, outdoor, what do you think drove more people, more interest this year than last year? What are you guys building on success wise?
Well, a lot of people were not convinced that we could do it last year. It was such a foreign concept to have basically an operating scrapyard at an expo site, and we did it. We pulled it off, and so a number of folks who walked the show last year as vendors were totally impressed by it. Many of our attendees who walked away saying, "Man, I wish I would have brought more of my guys. I wish more of my team could have been here," because they'd never experienced anything like it, didn't know what to experience. And so they were really, really pumped about what they experienced. So, listen, there's a lot of small to medium-sized scrap yards across our country they just don't have access to as much information or the opportunity to check out equipment or to learn technical information about maintaining shears, balers, what have you. as we provide at Scrap Expo. And being in Louisville, Kentucky, it's easy for people to get to. It's less expensive to stay there. Very attractive for a lot of people.
I think that's one of the reasons, okay, like just logistically, geographically, I think that's one of the reasons why Issary's National Convention had so much success this year. Nashville's a fun city. It's a switch up from Vegas,
Absolutely.
but one of the reasons why is that it's the proximity of so many people from our industry to be able to travel there and not have to fly across the country, but to be able to literally get in a car, drive, and be there and enjoy and partake, I think was one of the big drivers of success. Nashville is a fun city, but I don't necessarily think that's the only reason why. And I don't even think that's the biggest reason why that people enjoyed that. I feel like getting out of Vegas, for a little bit and being able to go and see it from a different perspective is why it had success this year and people talked about it, which I think that's going to be the reason, the big driver on Louisville and the Scrap Expo is the proximity of how many people can actually come attend. Like, look, cost aside, where it's affordable, but just the proximity of how many people you can reach out and touch. People can get in a car and drive down for a day or two and really partake is got to be one of the big reasons why that's a good spot.
There's no question about it. And bear in mind that, Scrap Expo is 2 days. So
Yeah.
you can arrive the morning we start Tuesday morning and be gone Wednesday night if that's what you want to do, right? If you want to stay and do a Bourbon Trail tour or something like that in Louisville, check out
Yeah.
the Louisville Slugger Museum or what have you. You can do all of those things, but Scrap Expo you can take in 2 days, and it's a quick hit kind of event, and that's what it's designed to be.
That's awesome. So, I mean, I'm a big proponent of Scrap Expo for a couple of reasons, and which is why I want to do these podcasts. I want to promote it because I think that it's being done for the right reasons. B, I appreciate someone that's going to try and put change and innovate, right? So when I think about, our industry and the people talk about consolidation a lot and the big steel mills are buying, scrap processors and being able to feed themselves and whatever else. And while that is going on, I think that what is understated in our industry is all the small, medium-sized operators. They're still out there that have thriving businesses or that are trying to grow their businesses, family
Absolutely.
businesses, multi-generational businesses that this show is kind of designed for. I mean, it's designed for people to look at a piece of equipment and not only just look at it, but then actually be able to like watch it operate, get in the cab, run it, see it move and wiggle and feel the adjustments, feel the differences between one piece and another and kind of look at the density of the bale or whatever that is. And you just don't get that at most other conventions. But this event is like, I feel like for my people, right? So like when people say, why are you so behind it? I'm like, because it's like my people. It's the small, medium-sized operators that get something. They probably get the most out of it. I mean, you guys are doing, everything from, baler maintenance to material handler maintenance, so you can bring your maintenance guy and let him listen to what you should be looking for, on preventative or whatever, maintenance items that you're trying to implement into your company. Like it's a true blue, like blue collar show. Am I looking at it the right way?
No, listen, that's the way, again, that's the way the expo was built. That's the vision behind Scrap Expo. We know, listen, Recycling Today magazine has been published since 1963. We have a
Wow.
distribution of, over 18,000 nationwide. We know because of the demographics of our readership that there are thousands of the scrap yards around the country that you mentioned that are independent, small, some mom and pop, some 2, 3 yards, smaller facilities we know there are also thousands of auto dismantlers out there. Many of these companies not well served by any annual event. And there's nothing where they can go and test equipment. We had an attendee come last year. They were shopping for shears, mobile shear, and they
Mhm.
were able to jump in a piece of equipment and run 4 different shears that day, right?
Yeah.
They made up their mind and they bought what they wanted, right? The owner's company said to me, listen, we're a small operator. I would have had to fly around the country to go to different yards. I couldn't have taken my guys to do that. We couldn't afford to function like that. And so, listen, being in a place like Louisville, being in a place that's accessible is important to those small to medium sized operators. And there's a lot of value. In fact, one of the things that we did this year with our pricing schedule, and this was based on feedback from people who came last year, the more people you bring from your company, the cheaper it gets. And we have,
Yeah.
good discounts for people who bring in three, four, five. We had companies bringing 10, 12 people last year. And
100%.
so again, we've continued to try to morph the model, the business model behind Scrap Expo, so that it caters to those types of operators, so that it's cost effective for them to bring additional yard managers or supervisors or the person who runs their baling operation or whatever it is in their particular plant.
It's also like an awesome, I push it a lot, but I always say your net worth is your network, right? Like if you can build your network of people that you trust their opinion, that do things that like let's say I'm a medium-sized processor in Idaho. And I know there's someone down south or on the East Coast, and they're similar size to me or whatever, and they have certain markets that I don't have, and vice versa, right? Though I'm like the ultimate scrapyard, recycling facility junkie. Like I love to travel and look at and see how people are doing stuff because I know there's one thing I can probably learn or pick up and bring back over to one of
Of
my yards,
course,
right? And then the same thing goes when you're at an event like the Scrap Expo, is you get a network with people that are about your size or within reason, right? So you're sitting there going, "Hey, you're over here in Louisiana," or "Hey, you're over here in Kentucky," or wherever it is, and how are you guys doing this, or what do you guys? And so when you're out there looking at the equipment or whatever, you can have a like a peer-to-peer type conversation. And I think that that networking component and introducing yourself to people and talking to people and hey, where are you guys at? What do you guys do? How do you guys do it? Man, that's probably one of the biggest. If you're not an equipment guy and you just want to go and network with like size, like minded individuals, I think that there's an opportunity at this expo as well.
there is. In fact, we've added some networking to this year's event. We receive the same feedback, and there's opportunity during the lunches and during the different presentations throughout the day to do that networking. But being that we're in a place like Louisville, Kentucky, we're adding this year. We're going to be September 12th and 13th at the KEC facility in Louisville. But we added Tuesday night a dessert reception and bourbon tasting. So it's just a networking opportunity for people to come after, go out, have a dinner, do whatever it is that works for you for dinner. Come back, join up with a whole group of scrap guys, and do some bourbon tasting, enjoy some desserts, and have a couple hours of networking. And so that's a new event that's going to happen in conjunction with Scrap Expo. We're really excited about it. We've also got those networking opportunities, they go to other places too. For example, we've got a session planned for this year that's going to talk about the history of the scrap industry, the impact of vertical consolidation from the mills coming into the business. You talked about that, but
Yeah,
we've got some marquee speakers there. John Sacco is going to be back with us to moderate that session this year, but we've got Jay Rabinovitz from Alter, Danny Rifkin from Metalex. We've got George Adams from SA Recycling and Kevin Gershowitz from Gershaw out in Long Island, who are all going to be joining John in that panel discussion, right? So you'll have an opportunity to interact with those kinds of industry pioneers and icons as well as small to medium sized companies that'll be attending.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, but ultimately you beat me to the punch, which, you're usually good at beating people to the punch, and I'm okay with that. But I think that one thing about our industry, and you probably go across other industries, not really just because I know ours is probably the best. That's where I've grown up with, is every one of those individuals you named started with a small company, and
Yep.
every single one of them, and every single one of them had the trials and tribulations of tough economic times. Every single one of them went through, good scrap years and terrible scrap years. I mean, every single one of those, and they found a way to build and grow and create monster businesses, right, within our industry. And you call them icons, that's what they are, right? And I think the beauty of like being able to talk to someone peer to peer, a small, medium-sized operator, and to understand that, what you're doing today, if done correctly, can actually build into something bigger down the road. All those individuals you discussed at one time were small, medium-sized operators, and
Absolutely.
they've built real businesses. They've grown. They've built real careers. Like a Rabinov, Jay is a great example. I got the utmost respect for Jay. He's been really good to me over the years, and I remember him just as a young punk in college, and I was just trying to figure out the industry and how I was going to grow my little mom and pop business. And I think and when he was working for Schnitzer Steel at that point.
Right. Right.
But
But I
there's
think a lot of people miss that. They don't know that. I mean, I remember George Adams sharing a story at one point about when growing up in the scrap business, right? But he was remembering riding in the back of his father's pickup truck, who was a peddler collecting scrap, right?
yeah.
So, it's the roots of the scrap industry are that way, right? They come out of a lot of small companies that worked really hard to be good at what they do in the markets that they serve.
Yeah, they caught some breaks. They took some punches, just like the rest of us. And I think
Exactly.
that's why it's where you can come into an event like that and actually learn. And one thing that I was looking at the lineup, not as speakers, but the lineup of like what actually is going to be discussed. And you and I had this conversation because I'm going to do a session there, and I was like, what I don't want it to be is a scrap 101. And one thing about that, I will say, like a differentiator in this expo, is you're not going to get just a 101 class of, hey, this is a material handler. It's got 2 points of contact and it lifts up like this. Like, you're going to get like 2, 3, 400 level classes, information that will actually give you some real knowledge to take home, like to your operation, right? So whether you're listening to
Absolutely.
industry icons and guys that have built real businesses and have been successful in industry describe like how they did it or what their take is on the future, you're also going to get information that you can actually take home, and it's useful information for your business. And whether it's how to properly maintain a piece of equipment, like that's just not something you see out there, without sending your guys, to a facility or having them, you know.
That's right.
Side note, one of the cool things Centerbogan does is they'll fly you fly to North Carolina, they'll put you through the class on how to do everything. Well, that takes real time, real money to fly somebody there. They cover the cost while you're there, whatever else. But this is kind of a quick hitter where you can get some mobile shear maintenance, some material handler maintenance, some baler maintenance, all those in one, to be able to soak all that in for,
Yep.
in 2 days. Find me a better use of time for your maintenance, your mechanical team, whoever else that you think could use, just a good overview of, all you need is one thing. I tell people all the time, you just pick up one
One
trick,
takeaway.
one
That's right.
idea, and it pays for the trip, right? And
And we've added a magnet maintenance to this
yeah,
year's lineup, right?
okay,
So there's magnet maintenance as well, right? So that again, that kind of brass tacks, it's really about those practical takeaways that you can use day to day to make your business better and stronger, right?
Yeah,
That's what Scrap Expo's really, really focused on, right?
100%.
Um,
And
you know,
I'm a big
and
believer in. Go ahead.
listen, Brett, I'm excited about the session that you're gonna um, put together too on let's grow your business, right?
Yeah,
How do you drive growth in your business? And it's not just, hey, I'm a huge company and I'm going out and buying companies, but it's practical stuff about ways you can take a small business and make it better, faster, stronger for the future to continue growing your business. You've got
yeah,
a great lineup
I'm
for that
stoked.
session.
Yeah, I'm stoked about that. And part of my deal was I don't like, and like I just mentioned before, I want to follow along with the theme that you've created. Is I don't want 101 class. I want a 300, 400 level class. People to give you real tactical information of, hey, nobody likes the price of scrap today, not compared to say a year or two ago. Um, but guess what? Like sometimes the price of scrap comes down, the costs of operating go up, and it creates real opportunity in these markets, right? And if you want to grow your business, you got to wait and look and understand what those opportunities that are being presented, what they look like, so that you can figure out a way to attack. And I think that's the lineup that we put together, and we'll talk more about that down the road. Is people that have done it, that have lived it, and also found ways to grow their business. And most of the time, these people aren't growing when the markets are real hot. They're growing when
Yeah.
the market's tough and challenging. And I think that's what I'm excited to talk about. Because there's so many people in our industry that have done it, that have executed, and that are so willing to tell you how they did it.
But
And
what's so true about what you're sharing is the fact that a lot of that happens not in the best of markets, but in
yeah,
some of the most challenging markets, right? And so
100%.
understanding how you can make that happen for your business, I think is going to be one of the great takeaways from Scrap Expo 2023.
There's so much of that I'm excited about. And I always tell people this too, like I don't sell shit I don't believe in, and neither should you. Like if you're in a job selling something that you don't believe is worth the money, then you better find something else, because
Yeah.
that's not a good gig to be in. You'll be miserable. I genuinely sell shit that I believe in and talk about stuff that I really believe has an impact, and that's probably the reason why I'm excited about this conference. I'm happy that you had the nuts to put it on. I mean, in the face of a lot of naysayers, right? A
Yeah.
lot of people that didn't think you could get it done. I mean, last year it kind of coincided with the commodities roundtable up in Chicago, right? Or no, was it?
Yeah. And that was hugely unfortunate. And
Yeah,
thankfully this year, that's not the case.
and that's why I wanted to bring that up. Is this year that that doesn't those two dates don't collide. So I think timing wise, it's a really good opportunity to it kind of fits in that window of most of your maintenance guys, most of your yard operators, your boots on the ground. To go and attend commodities roundtable or even a consumers night. I mean, those events have their place, just like the national convention has its place for ISRI, where you're getting people from all over the world coming in, guys you're brokering, doing deals with all year long that you might not see, that don't live here, or they live, on the other side of the country, or whatever that it has a real place in our industry. And this event, I feel like, carves out a real niche in our industry for your domestic operators. And then you get operators from other countries that want to come in and see how we're doing it, because all they need is one takeaway, and they can take it back to their
That's right.
country, to their operations, and implement it, and it becomes worth the cost. But it's a I wouldn't say it's a niche conference like your battery conference. This has a real placeholder in the industry. If you're a true blue operator of your company, and you're even if you're part of a larger company, but you have a real stake in how successful it is.
Yeah, listen, Brett, last year we had attendees from 39 states, 10 different countries,
Wow.
right? So we had a very diverse attendee base, but they were definitely all operators, right? We had hundreds of tons of scrap on the ground, so people could literally, you know, cut scrap, pick up scrap, strip cable, see cars
Mhm.
being depolluted. It was live operating experience. And so that's a fundamental difference than anything else you can experience. And listen, we are we're members of ISRI. We're active at the chapter level. We're active at the national level. We're big supporters
Yeah.
of what they do. Think that their mission is vitally important to the industry. Um, there are other ways the industry can benefit too, though. It doesn't always have to happen in the context of only an ISRI meeting. And Scrap Expo is one of those opportunities, right? Just like in the paper and plastics world, our paper and plastics recycling conference is a event that people can participate in to learn, grow, network, and so forth. So what we've created in Scrap Expo is really something designed for scrap dealers. One thing I'm going to tell you that was very interesting is we had small and large companies alike attend last year. We had some of the biggest companies in the industry sending yard managers, operations managers, people who are responsible for equipment purchasing, because they were able to do it quickly and efficiently and see a lot of machinery. And
Yeah.
something we didn't hit on, but this year the indoor exhibits, we've got almost 20%. It's closer to 30% more booth space on the inside exhibits than we had last year. So that's also going to be hugely more informative for people.
Well, it's attribution to it attributes to the success of the original, show you guys did last year, the first one. And I believe, and I've kind of preached this on multiple levels, that we've kind of moved into a world more of and than or. And when you mention ISRI and you talk about what they bring to the table and the importance of them to our industry, I believe the same way, right? I believe that ISRI has its place in our industry as advocates for our industry, as they should be on a lobbyist beneficial level for us, like trying to allow us to operate our business, right? From a regulatory standpoint as well, and then also from a large basically a way to group and network all the world, really. Like that's kind of its role, right? And then you also have these events like Scrap Expo, where its goal is to network, your operators of the world together. So it's like your head mechanics, your head, facility operators, whether you're from Brazil or you're from the United States or you're from Kentucky or you're from New
Absolutely.
York or from Idaho. So you have like these events, and it truly is an and,
Yeah,
it's going to be a different crowd than goes to consumers night in Chicago.
yeah,
It's a
you're not going to
different
have all
crowd,
the
or in
traders and so
St.
forth.
Louis. I'm sorry, but then you have at Scrap Expo, right? I think, and that's the way it should be. If you're doing it right, then you're finding your niche, and I look at it the same way as a small or medium sized operator. You can't be everything to everyone all the time. You got to find your niche in your area, in your state, in your geography, and be damn good at that niche and just attack it hard. That's really how you build a business. Is you can't be the best copper, the best steel, ferrous, the best aluminum processor and do it all. But especially if you're a small operator, you're just not going to be able to
Right.
compete. You got to find that one thing that's like your niche that you can really go hard at, and then slowly expand out from there as you grow and you gain opportunity and awareness, right? And I feel like that's kind of what you're doing with this. And if I'm wrong, that's fine. This is my take on it. But
No,
you
no,
find
no.
your
And
niche,
listen, I
and then
think that
you're
one
going
of
to build that niche out.
we had talked before we started recording about, just the nature of the business is it's hard on machinery, right?
Yeah.
It's not about we're not a good operator or it's the nature of the business is very hard on machinery. And so understanding how you can better maintain that equipment, how you can get a longer life, stronger performance, faster cycle times, all those things are vitally important to everyone's operation, whether they're small or large. And Scrap Expo is all about that kind of stuff, right? And
100%.
the other truth is that, you know, because it is what it is, scrap processing machinery is expensive, right?
It's not getting any cheaper either.
It is expensive. And part of the reason is it's built in a very robust manner, right? I mean, there's
Yeah.
certain table stakes you got to have to be at the table. And so having your team understand how they can, again, lower your OpEx, lower your capital costs by extending the life of your machinery, knowing how to take care of it um, when something happens, all those things are vital to being a good operator and also to being able to ship in any market, right?
Yeah.
Nobody wants downtime preventing you from shipping. And so, again, Scrap Expo is really designed to help people understand the equipment side of the business, but also we've got some good, commodity market insights as well. Last year we did red metals. We're not going to do that this year. This year we're taking on aluminum, right?
Yeah.
We'll cover ferrous, of course, as well. Always have to cover ferrous, but we'll have a really great aluminum session for folks as well. Get some insight as to what's going on in that space.
Yeah, and over and above the commodity side, it's a true blue networking event as well. And I think that's probably one of the things that it has in common with an ISRI national event, right? Or a consumer night type of event. It's that networking component, right? And if I've got a maintenance supervisor, I want him to go and network with other maintenance supervisors because maybe they can share a little bit of knowledge with each other, right? Or if I've got an operator that runs one of my yards and I want him to go or her to go because I want them to network with, say, other operators that are running a facility and let them exchange some ideas and some phone numbers and have those conversations. So that's probably the biggest thing it has in common is the networking component.
Don't forget Scrap Expo is a blue jeans and work boots show.
Yeah. But the niche that it fits within our industry that's important is it doesn't leave out all the small, medium-sized operators that are cutting their teeth in the industry that have real businesses or they're building real businesses that are trying to grow, that are trying to do. And that's where I felt like that niche gets fulfilled. I can go to ISRI and have a bunch of good conversations. I sell all the material, and that's a good event for me. Like I do enjoy the ISRI National Convention. Now, if I want to have some of my operators and some of those guys go to a convention, they're not going to maybe get as much out of that, but they will get a lot out of this one, right? And so that's where it's like we live in a world of and, not or. And the reason why I like pushing this one is because it's just because out of my own selfishness, like it's my people, right? It's the guys and gals that are like me out there just kind of hustling it up every day, trying to make a living.
Yep.
So,
and listen, we had operators come from a lot of different types of companies. It was definitely, we had a lot of scrap companies. That was the vast majority of our attendee base, right? But we had auto wreckers there. We had some consumers there. We had a few exporters and importers. We had some mill service companies.
yeah.
We had the one that really surprised me was, we actually had some waste companies attend. We had some demolition guys attend. And, again, they're all using equipment. They're all maintaining equipment. They're all to some degree processing, handling some level of scrap metal. And so they found the event to be, really worthwhile for them as well.
I love it. Well, give me the dates, man. Anything else? Any parting shots you want to speak of, or do you think you got it covered?
No, so again, I'm just going to share with everybody that we're going to be September 12th and 13th. That's a Tuesday and Wednesday. So in the middle of the week, in the middle of the month, That's important.
Yeah.
And will be Tuesday from 10 to 6 and Wednesday from 9 to 4. So good long days for everybody to network. You can learn everything you want to know about the event at scrapexpo.net.
Yeah.
Scrapexpo.net.
And we'll
Love
be
to see you
posting
all
some more
there. Look
stuff
forward to
up.
it.
Yeah, we'll be posting some more stuff up on social, so follow along. Kind of talking about the sessions, talking about the speakers, and just in general, looking forward to connecting with some people there. We're gonna do some live podcasts. I mean, it's gonna be, like I said, it's the operators show, man. That's what I love about it, and I can't appreciate or say thank you enough, Jim, for finding us and finding that niche and putting it
Well,
on, you and your team, and just
we
allowing
appreciate
us
your
the
support, Brett.
opportunity to do it.
We appreciate your support and the support of everyone who stepped up and helped the event happen. And so it's been great.
It's gonna be a great one, man. So thanks again, and go check it out, scrapexpo.net, and don't hesitate to reach out to me, Jim, whoever, if you have any questions. And looking forward
Please.
to connecting out there.
We're looking forward to it.
All right, take
See you in
care.
Louisville, Brett. Thanks.
Absolutely, you will.